Now, after we've nipped those frets off, and you get your nippers, your fret clippers, you get them as close to the neck as you can, and you clip them off. So once that's done, all our frets are trimmed close to the neck as possible. Now we have these nasty sharp ends that will cut your hand open if you're not careful. Now we're going to file the frets. So I've got several files here that I actually made over the years. I grind the ends off of them and round them up and make a little handle for them. So now we're going to do, it's kind of like rough, medium, and then fine. That's how I've got my fret files. So we're going to carefully file the sides of the frets here, the side of the neck. And we want to get off all those sharp edges. And I'm constantly cleaning up my work area. Because I don't want any damage to come to the neck or the finish or anything like that. Always pays to keep a tidy workspace. Then I just keep going through the files. This takes a lot of elbow grease. That looks good there. And more importantly, it feels good. So I've got a slight bevel or angle to the frets. So when we're playing it, we don't feel, you know, like there's a railroad tie sticking out of there. Now we'll do the other side. Well, we lost a valuable piece of footage about leveling the frets when we're doing our leveling crown. So I'm having to use a different neck here to substitute. But we want to check how straight our neck is. We want all the frets to be touching all the frets at the same height. So I have a diamond file here, straight edge sander, leveling block. And that's how we level all the frets before we crown them up. So now we're going to crown the frets up with our crowning tool. This is a diamond file again. So we just want to remove a little material. If we've done our fret job correctly, we only have to remove a little material after we've leveled it. So you just want a fine line at the top of the fret all the way across. So you're just taking a little bit off of the side of the fret. Doesn't take much. So I'm basically working the file, excuse me, across the fret like this. Now normally, now I would go to sanding the frets, which we'll get to later, but I have the luxury of using the Plek machine now, and I didn't even have to do this, but I just wanted to demonstrate the level and crown with the files as you're hand filing it. But this is, we're going to put a nut in it next and cut the nut and string it up and put the guitar back together again. Then it's going to go into the Plek machine. We're also going to shoot a coat of sealer on the fingerboard too, before we Plek it and put the guitar back together. So as they say, it's all in the details. I had forgot to mention earlier, this is the beauty of videotaping, that I always want to keep the fret ends, the shape looking the same. I am just as concerned about it, how it looks cosmetically. But sometimes there's just a stray little pieces of fret that kind of get mashed over when they're filed, so I try to clean all that up so the fret ends look really nice too. Alright, back to our fret ends. After all that's done and cleaned up, I've got a 3-point file here which I've ground and smoothed the edge on one of the edges here. And then I can clean up the fret ends a little more. So they're nice and smooth. You don't feel any sharp edges. Back in the day, before there were crowning files, we used to use the 3-point file to crown our frets. And oh, what fun it was. Luckily, we don't have to do that anymore. And they feel awesome, even before we've sanded them. That's what we want. So next we're going to need a nut before we put the finish on. Here's our nut blank. I've done a little work on it, but just to rush things along for the video, it's nice and snug in there. This is probably going to be a whole nother series of stuff, learning how to cut nuts. So we're going to get this one shaped just to fit in there. We're not actually going to slot it yet. Again, we'll get to that later, but I want to have my nut blank in there before I shoot my finish on there.